Hi everyone. Just give me 1 second while I make sure we are live. Okay. So what we're going to be doing today is creating a deco mesh wreath. This wreath is going to be summer oriented with this ice cream that says welcome to summer. And I think this is really cute. I got this from Craft Outlet. Actually, all of the materials we're using today did come from Craft Outlet. So when the material list is created, it's going to be a strictly Craft Outlet material list. I know a lot of you guys do enjoy that because, you know, sometimes it's hard to get to stores. And I know a lot of you guys live where you don't have Michael's or Joann's or any other craft stores like that. But the item number for this is 300-43446. And like I said before, I will provide you guys the material list with the direct links to purchase. What we're also going to be using is 10-inch mesh. Hi you guys. We're going to be using 10-inch mesh in a hot pink color. And the item number for this is RE130211. And I cut them to be 16 inches in length, and I cut 18 of them. We're going to be using a yellow pencil twist tie work wreath. This is a 15 to 24 inch work wreath, and the item number is XX750429. We're also going to be using a roll of 21 inch yellow mesh. The item number for this is RE100229. We will also be using 3 different ribbons that match the sign and the mesh and the work wreath. We're going to be using this one. It is kind of a hot pink and white striped. I think this is called pinstripe. I'll look at the label in a second. But we cut these to be 12 inches in length, and I dovetailed them ahead of time so you guys don't have to watch me do that. And I cut 18 of each color. We're using this one. We're using the snowball edged in a hot pink. And then we're using the yellow pinstripe with the white. And the item number for the hot pink with the snowball ends is RG0159. 807, and all 3 were cut at 12 inches in length. The hot pink pinstripe is RG178011, and the yellow pinstripe is RG178029. Love the bright colors. Exactly, so these colors scream spring and summer to me, but, you know, now's the time to even put the sign up because, you know, summer's going to be here in a couple weeks. So if you purchase these now, if they're still in stock, hopefully they still are. But if you do purchase, I'd recommend you purchase these now just for the fact that they will sell out relatively fast. This sign is not all that inexpensive. I think it was between $7 and $8. But it is quite thick and it is a heavy sign. It is well built, so I don't mind spending that for a nice sign. Okay, so what I'm going to start by doing is opening up the work wreath, as always. So to do that, I'm just going to separate each twist like this. Oh, the item number for the yellow one is XX750429. I don't know if I already gave that in the beginning, but just in case, and you're looking for that, that's the item number. You could also make your own work wreath with a dollar store frame or even a little bit larger at Michael's or Joann's. I personally like to purchase them. It does save me time, and I personally don't like the look of pipe cleaners once they're on the wreath. You know, once the wreath is completed, I don't like seeing the pipe cleaners, so I always trim them off. For something like this, I honestly don't mind seeing them. I think it is pretty with them or without them, so I personally just leave them. But for pipe cleaners, I always trim them off because it kind of looks DIY in a sense to me. And I don't really like that look. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to unravel our yellow mesh. This is 21-inch mesh. We're going to be doing the poof technique as well as add a curl to each and every single twist. What I'm going to start by doing is I'm just going to overlap about an 8-inch piece, and I'm just going to simply gather like this so that I have something relatively even kind of like a fan shape around one side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that directly into the twist. You can either start on the inside or the outside. In all honesty, it doesn't really matter. I simply placed one on the inside, but you will achieve the same effect if you place it on the outside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my cutting mat, and I'm going to measure out 10 inches, just like this, and then I'm going to go to the next twist, and I'm going to place it inside. Hi everybody, welcome. Again, another 10-inch poof. So for demonstration purposes, I am measuring out each one just so you guys get the effect, but in all honesty, you guys, when I'm making these, or when I used to make a lot of them to sell, I would honestly just eyeball it. You know, if it looks right to me, it's good enough. But I know the poof technique kind of intimidates a lot of people, and if you're one of those people, just measure it out. Just measure out 10-inch poofs. And this mesh was relatively inexpensive from Craft Outlet. We're not using the metallic mesh. This is just the generic cheap mesh. I've said in the past that I like to purchase the highest quality mesh, but I couldn't find a color that I really liked to match the sign. It was kind of a little too dark. I purchased a roll a long time ago in the hot pink, and it was a little too dark for the sign. So I thought this was a little bit more bright, which is why we're using the hot pink without any metallic strands. Okay, so we did one layer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go around the outside, and we're going to measure out 10-inch poofs, just like we did on the inside. Just pull it out towards the edge. So I would consider this yellow to be kind of like a daffodil yellow. I think it's very pretty. It's a very pretty yellow. And for those of you that are waiting for me to get back to you with an email, I'm still working on them. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. So if I haven't answered you yet, just be patient. I will get back to you either tonight or tomorrow morning. Okay, we're almost there. So like I said before, people do get intimidated by this technique, and, you know, seriously, you guys, don't be. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does have to be a little bit more particular and a little bit more perfect, if you will, than the ruffle technique, just because you don't want poofs that are too big or too small. But once you fluff it up and add your ribbons and your sign, you know, it'll be beautiful. Okay, just a couple more left. Okay, so we're on to the last one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to overlap it. So I'm going to cut here at the 10-inch mark, just slightly over actually, just so I can overlap it with the first twist tie. I'm opening up the twist, I'm placing it directly inside, and I'm twisting it close, making sure it is secure. Now just go throughout, gently fluff Like I said before, nothing has to be too perfect because we are going to be adding curls. But this is what you got so far. Very generic mesh, nothing elaborate, nothing expensive. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go throughout and add a 16-inch curl into each twist tie. So I cut these at 16 inches and it is already 10 inches in length. And all I'm doing is I'm just letting it roll. I don't really tend to make my curls super tight. I'm kind of a lazy designer in a sense. So this is typically how they look. If you want to make them more tight, you can do that. I've always done this, and this is just the way I do it. If you don't like how tight they are, you could always just loosen them up a little bit. But I am placing one inside of each. I'm opening up the twist as I place it inside. I do find that to be important when creating deco mesh wreaths, is to open up the twists before placing your ribbons, or in this case, extra pieces of mesh. Deco mesh tends to be really poofy, especially with this technique, and you don't really want it to be a foot high. You know, you try to keep it as compact as possible. So again, I'm just pinching in the middle, and I'm placing one in each. So afterwards we'll adjust them, but I typically like mine to face kind of like in a V formation out from the center. So instead of it going inside like this, I like them to be facing outside. So as I work, like I said before, I am opening them up. I wouldn't be placing this directly on top. It would just get too poofy in the end. So I have 3 more on the outside, and then we'll work on the inside. There's no particular reason I started with the outside. As long as each and every single twist gets one, it doesn't really matter where you start, where you finish. Okay, 2 more. Okay, so that's what it looks like with the outside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work a piece into each twist on the inside. Doing the same thing. Okay. Couple more left. So I use my rotary cutter. I have one left to cut. I use my rotary cutter versus scissors to cut my deco mesh. Making sure I untwist. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go throughout and make sure that the mesh is facing outwards. I kind of did that as I was working, so there's not really too much to adjust at all. But this is what I mean by having them face out away from the center. I just prefer that look much more than having them all over the place. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start adding the ribbons. I have three that I showed you before. I'm going to place either the yellow one or the pink one. It truly doesn't matter, but just stick with whichever one you decide. On the top, followed by the solid snowball hot pink, and followed by the final pinstripe. Just place them on top of each other, fold roughly in half so that you find the midway point, and then place one in each twist. Again, unraveling each twist as you place it in. I'm not going to worry about adjusting at this point. I'm just going to worry about placing one inside of each twist. So since I placed the yellow on top, we're going to stick to that. What you could also do to kind of make it a little bit more visually appealing is switching off the colors every other. So here we have the yellow, maybe put the pink pinstripe here, followed by the yellow, or vice versa. So I am folding them in half just to find the midway point, pinching in the center and placing one in each, one set of 3 in each. Not adjusting anything at this point, just making sure everything is on. So what would be really cute in this as well would be some lemons or some limes. If you didn't want to use a sign that I have today, you could use a lemonade sign. I believe I have one here. This is going to be in a future tutorial, most likely from my business page. Me and Trendy Tree are putting together a kit. You could use this and turn it into a pink lemonade wreath and put this in the center. Or just place some lemons and some greens. Okay, so I placed one on every single twist on the inside. Now I'm going to do the same process for the outside. Got here late. Anyone know how long to cut the mesh? So we started with a 21-inch roll of yellow mesh, and then we added 16-inch pieces of 10-inch hot pink deco mesh. We turned those into curls. We placed one in each. And we're using 12-inch pieces of 1.5-inch ribbon. So at this point, you can't see exactly what I'm doing around the wreath, but we're just placing one in each as we did up top. So keep in mind that we will be live tomorrow as well as Thursday. We have 2 more tutorials left, and then the file will be posted Thursday evening after the last tutorial, and it will be kept into the group until Sunday, which is Easter, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for you guys to save. So you can have access to it forever. Okay, several more to go, and then we'll be done with the ribbons. What you could also do is you could supplement one of the 1.5-inch ribbon for a 2.5-inch ribbon. Or you could add some tubing to this, that would be nice. Okay, final one. So this is what it looks like unfluffed so far. As always, fluffing is the most important part in wreath making, or at least I believe so. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fluff each and every single piece by simply pulling them apart from each other. I am going to try to keep the pattern the same So one pinstripe on either side with the solid in the middle. So in all honesty, other than the sign being the most expensive part, this wreath was made pretty inexpensively. You know, we didn't use high premium deco mesh. We didn't use expensive ribbons. We could have easily used more expensive ribbons such as this, which was about $7 or $8 for 10 yards. These ribbons, I believe, were $3.25 or $3.50 for the pinstripe, and I think the pink was around $4 or $5. So this is the most tedious part. Okay, so the inside is done. We will have to adjust it once we hang it up as well, and once we add the sign. But now I'm going to do the same process around the outside of the wreath by pulling the ribbons apart. Okay, continue working around the wreath, making sure that the ribbons are facing out towards the surface. Make sure all of your prints are facing up. So the ribbons are cut at 12 inches. We use 3 different styles of 1.5 inch ribbon. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the sign. I'm going to use my staple gun. If you don't have a staple gun, honestly, you should probably invest in one. I have found it to be incredibly useful. But what I'm going to use is a couple pipe cleaners. I'm going to be using white pipe cleaners today. So since we already have a hanger right here, I'm going to use that to my advantage. Save a staple and twist it around that. I'm also going to place one here. I'm using 2 staples. So in total, we have 3 pipe cleaners on this sign. I'm going to go back to my wreath. Pull the pipe cleaners through. And I am going to make sure that I'm attaching directly towards the metal frame. Not just to the mesh. I want it to be as secure as possible. And since we are dealing with a sign that is a little bit heavier than we typically use, I do want to make sure it is secure and is not going anywhere. So I'm just feeding my pipe cleaners through the mesh partially and then wrapping it around the frame. So the sign all of these items came from Craft Outlet. Now I'm going to go towards the top of the sign, find my final remaining pipe cleaner, and wrap it around the metal frame. Yep, the sign is a popsicle. Okay, so now is the point where you can take your ribbons and adjust them accordingly a little bit more. So if they're not hidden behind your sign, you want your ribbons to be visible. And as always, once you hang up your wreath, you can adjust furthermore to make sure that the ribbons do look nice. And here's the wreath, you guys. So all we used is 3 types of 1.5 inch ribbon with almost a whole roll. We still have about 3/4 of the roll left of the hot pink 10-inch mesh in the most basic form, which was about $2.75 a roll, maybe even less than that, with a 21-inch roll of the yellow daffodil mesh, which was about $325, $375 or something like that. We still have about, I don't know, a quarter of it left. And then the most expensive feature was the sign, which still wasn't all that bad for the quality of it. It's really pretty in person. So as always, like I said before, I'm going to adjust it before I take pictures and post them in the group. Just fluff your ribbons, make sure that they're facing towards you. Like this, you don't want it facing out like that. You want it always facing towards you. So I'll be adjusting slightly once it goes on the door, and I will take more pictures and I'll post them in the group. Alright everybody, so we will have another tutorial tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will have another one Thursday, and that will be it for the month. We are trying to get Regina Sellers in the group, but she is still working on a few things. But if she doesn't come this month, she will come early into the next month. Alright everybody, I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye everybody.